In the shadows of myth and reality, monsters stir. From ancient legends to modern nightmares, we explore the creatures that haunt our stories, and sometimes, our lives. Welcome to Among Monsters podcast, where the line between man and monsters is thinner than you think.
The Phantom Soldier, David Penton's Trail of Vanished Innocence. I'm Damien Vale, and tonight on Among Monsters we unravel the horrifying tapestry woven by a man who moved like a ghost across America's heartland, while little girls, fragile as whispers, vanished into the suffocating silence behind him. He was a man cloaked in the uniform of a soldier, a shield of duty and protection. He wore the disarming smile of a father, a visage of comfort and trust. But beneath these carefully constructed facades, his heart beat with a chilling void, hollowed out by an emptiness that fed on innocence. This is the grim, sprawling story of David Elliot Penton, the military man who became a monster. A predator whose chilling crimes stretched like a shadow across the sun-drenched highways of Texas, the quieter roads of Ohio, and far, far beyond. A phantom hunter of children, a specter on the vast, indifferent ribbons of the American highway system, and a killer whose insidious genius lay in his ability to hide in plain sight, camouflaged by the very normalcy he defied. The unwritten beginning, a seed of darkness. David Elliot Penton was born in Ohio in 1958, but his early years remain largely shrouded in mystery, meticulously scrubbed from the easy reach of public record. There exists frustratingly little on paper about his childhood. No glaring reports of violence, no early arrests to signal the brewing storm within. Only the vague, unsettling backdrop of a troubled young man emerges. Intelligent, yes, but profoundly and disturbingly emotionally detached. A quiet boy, perhaps, whose silence concealed chasms of growing darkness. He sought the rigid order of service, joining the U.S. Army, where he found a place within the precise, calculated world of military intelligence. Those who encountered him in this structured environment described him as quiet, even possessing a disarming charm, qualities that, in retrospect, serve as a chilling testament to his ability to blend, to disarm, to deceive. He was stationed at Fort Hood, Texas, a sprawling military base, a nexus of lives and duties. And it was there, at the very edge where the sanctity of uniform met the burgeoning darkness of his true nature, that the mask began its first imperceptible slip. By the early 1980s, Penton had built a facade of conventional life. He was married, a husband within the bonds of matrimony, and had a young son, the innocent embodiment of paternal responsibility. He lived the seemingly ordinary life of a family man, his days marked by duty and domesticity. But in 1984, the fragile edifice of his normalcy shattered with a single, devastating act. His son, a mere 2 years old, barely having begun his journey through life, died tragically while in David Penton's sole care. The official cause of death was ruled accidental, blunt force trauma to the head, supposedly caused by a fall in the bathtub. But the cold logic of the official ruling failed to convince those closest to the tragedy. Not his wife, whose intuitions screamed a different truth. Not the authorities, whose questions lingered like unsettled ghosts. And deep down in the silent, chilling recesses of his own mind, not even David Penton himself. The predator's flight, a deadly odyssey begins. Rather than face the long arm of justice, rather than endure the judgment of a jury, Penton chose the coward's path. He fled. He vanished, a phantom dissolving into the vastness of the American landscape before he could be prosecuted for criminally negligent homicide. It was the true beginning of a long, deadly odyssey, a nomadic existence across the nation's highways that would, tragically, cost far more innocent lives than anyone could possibly imagine. In the months and years that followed his escape, a terrifying pattern began to emerge, a silent epidemic of vanishing innocence. Across the sprawling urban landscapes and quiet rural towns of Texas and Ohio, children began to disappear. Little girls, their ages ranging from the vulnerable innocence of 4 to the budding awareness of 9, simply vanished from the ordinary places of childhood: playgrounds, bustling shopping centers, desolate parking lots. Their laughter replaced by a suffocating silence. Some, with grim inevitability, were later found, their small bodies bearing the horrific marks of sexual assault, their lives extinguished through strangulation, discarded like refuse in forgotten ravines or obscure ditches. Others, tragically, were never seen again, their fates dissolving into the cold currents of unsolved mysteries, leaving behind only the gaping wound of perpetual absence. The cases initially were treated as isolated incidents, disconnected tragedies in a vast, fragmented nation. Different towns cried out in anguish. Different states launched their own localized investigations. Different local jurisdictions operating in their own silos struggled to find answers within their limited purviews. But the predator, the unseen architect of their sorrow, remained chillingly the same. Christina Williams, a bright, hopeful 5-year-old, vanished from a Killeen, Texas playground in October 1986, her laughter swallowed by the afternoon air. Her tiny body was discovered 6 months later, a grim tableau in a ravine outside town. She had been sexually assaulted and brutally murdered. Around the same haunting period, Nydra Ross, a vibrant 9-year-old, disappeared from Dayton, Ohio, her last known steps taking her toward a neighborhood convenience store, a simple errand that became her final journey. Then came the discovery of Tammy Vincent, a 7-year-old found in the woods near a tranquil creek. Her small body abused, strangled, and left for dead, a testament to the predator's chilling consistency. Authorities across states found themselves baffled, struggling in the dark. Different police departments, separated by hundreds of miles, operating under disparate protocols, possessed no unified system. No cohesive mechanism to connect the chilling dots that stretched across the continent. In the 1980s, the tools of modern law enforcement were nascent, fragmented. There was no national DNA database, a vital lifeline missing. No integrated missing person system, a digital web to catch the vanishing. No established interstate communication protocols to bridge the vast distances between local jurisdictions. And David Penton, a ghost moving between states in stolen cars, shedding identities with casual ease, adopting a litany of fake names, working odd jobs that offered anonymity, exploited every inch of that systemic chaos. He was not fast, not flashy. He was simply, profoundly, terrifyingly invisible. The system's blindness, a predator's confidence soars. Incredibly, between 1985 and 1988, Penton's dark ballet with the law continued. He was arrested multiple times on seemingly minor charges: indecent exposure, solicitation, drug possession. Each time he slid through the cracks, offering a false name, a fabricated identity. Each time he posted bail, a small price for his deadly freedom. Each time he simply disappeared again, a shadow melting into the anonymity of the highway, leaving bewildered local law enforcement to process a ghost. Meanwhile, the bodies continued to pile up, each new victim a testament to the system's terrifying inefficiency. And with each unheeded disappearance, with each successful evasion, the monster's chilling confidence soared, feeding his twisted belief in his own untouchability. The sprawling arm of the FBI wouldn't begin to take serious unified notice until 1988, when Penton was finally captured in Columbus, Ohio, on seemingly unrelated charges, another minor infraction. By then, his name had already begun to surface, whispered among investigators as a potential suspect in several unresolved child murder cases. But without concrete forensic evidence, without the smoking gun of proof, they simply couldn't hold him. But then, the predator, in a fatal twist of his own making, made a mistake. A moment of chilling arrogance, or perhaps a subconscious perverse yearning for recognition, a twisted form of guilt that demanded his deeds be known. Penton began to talk. He wrote letters from jail, a stream of consciousness spilling out his dark heart. Letters sent to unsuspecting friends, to former lovers, even to complete strangers. Each carefully chosen recipient a pawn in his final, desperate play for notoriety. And in those letters were the chilling, undeniable clues. Descriptions of his victims so vivid, so disturbing in their detail they could only come from the killer himself. Hints at the precise locations of bodies, buried deep in forgotten landscapes. Boasts, arrogant and self-congratulatory, about how easily he had evaded capture, how flawlessly he had danced through the net of justice. In one such letter, a chilling testament to his depravity, he brazenly bragged about killing a young girl near a ravine in Texas, a detail that resonated with a cold case. In another, a chillingly poetic confession he described with macabre fascination, watching the life drain out of a child's eyes. And finally, a declaration etched in his own hand, a profound and horrifying summary of his life's work. I've done things no one should ever forgive, but no one ever stopped me. The net closes, justice, fragmented and late. The chilling details within those letters were enough to crack open decades-old files, enough to shatter the walls of jurisdictional separation. When authorities, now armed with new insight, began the painstaking work of comparing case timelines to Penton's known movements, the pattern once invisible became undeniable. Victim locations aligned with chilling precision to the very cities Penton had passed through, the very towns where his trucks had briefly paused. Eyewitness accounts, once vague and isolated, now placed him eerily near abduction sites. A chilling map began to emerge, charting a cross-country trail of silenced innocence. And then came the definitive break, the forensic miracle that finally sealed his fate. In 1993, new cutting-edge forensic technology allowed painstaking analysts to match fibers found on one of the victims, a microscopic thread of evidence, to Penton's old blue Pontiac, a vehicle long gone, perhaps sold or scrapped, but whose purchase and sale records, meticulously kept, provided the final, undeniable link. That small, almost invisible detail, a single thread of woven fabric, cracked the case wide open. David Elliot Penton was charged with multiple counts of capital murder. The net, after years of his ghost-like evasion, had finally, irrevocably, closed around him. In court, David Elliot Penton presented a figure of chilling composure. He was calm, cold, utterly unapologetic. He refused to admit guilt, even in the face of overwhelming evidence. He showed no emotion, no flicker of remorse, no sign of human empathy for the devastation he had wrought. At trial, prosecutors painted a stark, horrifying picture of a calculating sexual predator, a man who relentlessly used his cold intelligence and his acquired military discipline to stalk, to kidnap, and to murder young, innocent girls. He targeted the most vulnerable among us, the trusting, the ones whom society, in its hurried pace, often ignored. In 1993, facing the grim certainty of a death sentence, Penton accepted a plea deal, a cold bargain that allowed him to avoid the ultimate penalty by confessing to 3 murders in Texas. He received 3 consecutive life sentences, ensuring he would never again walk free, a ghost forever contained within prison walls. But even from the confines of his concrete cage, the manipulative game, the insatiable need for control over his narrative, was not yet done. From his prison cell in Texas, Penton began a new, insidious game, confessing to other murders, slowly, strategically, extracting favors, securing special treatment, or simply succumbing to the gnawing boredom of perpetual incarceration. He eventually admitted to killing at least 5 young girls, possibly more. Authorities, forever haunted by the true scope of his unseen terror, believe the actual number could be closer to 9. Some, burdened by the whispers of unsolved cases, even estimate the true count to be as high as 12. But without definitive forensic evidence to link him conclusively, many of those cases remain officially unresolved, their victims still awaiting justice, their stories unfinished. To this day, at least 4 child abductions from the 1980s bear the chilling hallmarks of Penton's known behavior. Girls who simply vanished without a trace, whose families still wait, agonizingly, for answers that may never come. Penton himself, the architect of their unending sorrow, won't confirm, he won't deny. He simply smiles, a chilling, knowing grin that holds all the secrets of the dead. The monster's legacy, a call to vigilance. So who was David Penton really, beyond the labels of killer, predator, sociopath? He was a man seemingly without a cause, yet driven by an unseen hunger. A killer without a grand mission, yet utterly precise in his destructive purpose. A predator who fed off innocence, and who moved through a broken system like it was meticulously designed for him, a seamless corridor for his evil. He exploited every vulnerability, using false identities, cycling through multiple license plates, vanishing into the vast anonymity of interstate travel, benefiting from our nation's lamentable lack of coordination between law enforcement agencies. And until his dark amusement waned, until he, in his own time, chose to offer a glimpse of his crimes, no one, tragically, ever stopped him. As of this very moment, in 2025, David Elliot Penton remains incarcerated in Texas. He has no possibility of parole, no hope of release, no discernible plan for repentance, his heart still hardened by the darkness within. He continues to write letters from prison, often disturbing in their content, always manipulative in their intent. Experts who have studied him call him highly intelligent. Victim advocates, scarred by the lives he extinguished, call him a coward. Grieving parents call him the devil. Whatever he is, he's locked away now, his reign of terror confined. But the children he stole, the bright, hopeful lives he extinguished, they're never coming home. We remember Christina Williams, Nydra Ross, Tammy Vincent, Lori Galloway, Misty Copsey, suspected, and the many unnamed, unseen girls whose disappearances were swallowed by indifference, left out of every headline, their stories waiting in the dark. Their lives were cut devastatingly short, their stories left forever unfinished, truncated by a monster's whim. Their parents sentenced to a lifetime of profound, unyielding grief. All because one man kept moving, unseen, unchallenged, across the indifferent canvas of America. The story of David Elliot Penton isn't just about a single monster. It's about the devastating blind spots that monster so cunningly slipped through, the cracks in the very fabric of our safety nets. In the 1980s, America, in its fragmented jurisdictional landscape, had no unified child abduction alert system. There were no Amber Alerts to galvanize communities, no digital databases that could instantaneously ping similarities across state lines, connecting the dots of a national predator. The cracks were wide, dangerously so, and Penton, with his chilling intelligence, walked through every single one of them. But those painful cracks, those devastating losses, eventually led to reform. In the agonizing wake of Penton's conviction, and others like him, states began to shatter their silos and share vital information. New, integrated databases were meticulously built. The concept of Amber Alerts blossomed from a local initiative into a nationwide law, a powerful beacon against abduction. Child abduction protocols evolved, learning from the grim lessons of the past. And perhaps in that painful aftermath, some lives were indeed saved, but the memory lingers. A man, a soldier, a father, who ruthlessly murdered little girls one after another and thought himself utterly untouchable. And for a long, terrifying time, he was. This has been Among Monsters. I'm Damien Vale. Sleep well tonight, but never forget, monsters don't always come with fangs or claws, with grotesque faces or hulking forms. Sometimes they wear uniforms. Sometimes they present themselves as ordinary, even charming family men. And sometimes they tuck their own children into bed before hunting yours.
Thank you for listening to Among Monsters podcast. Find more episodes of Among Monsters podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, or anywhere premium podcasts exist. Email us at amongmonsterspodcast@gmail.com.